Yo, 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 welcome back to Sack Up. Man, it's going to be a good episode today. So this is our second or third time recording the intro because, honestly, I'm rusty, and we have some good shit for you guys today. Most people think that success comes from working harder, and that's bullshit. Some of the hardest working people I know are still broke and miserable and stuck. And today's guest didn't win because he just worked more hours. He won because he stopped lying to himself. So without further ado, Nate Saxton, ladies and gentlemen.
Excited to be here. Sack up with Saxton.
Sack up with Saxton, bro. Actually, I'm looking for a fucking co-host. That would be legit.
There we go.
There we go. Guys, I met Nate about a year ago. He has become, honestly, one of my best friends, and I know for a fact he'll be a lifelong brother of mine. He constantly pours into other people. He is completely selfless, and, I just think he has a ton of value to provide. So whether or not you're in the roofing industry, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, I guarantee you can learn something from today's episode. So let's actually rewind just a hair to when you were growing up, because I want to start from the beginning, just set a quick foundation, and then dive into the nuts and bolts of the podcast because, guys, we have a ton of free game coming your way. But give us a little backstory of, you growing up, you and your brother, motocross, high school, college. What was that like?
For sure. I think I'm obviously really competitive with everything I do, and I think that comes a lot from having a twin brother. We grew up racing motocross, and that wasn't like a normal thing in the early ages before even high school because not a lot of people knew about it. It was a very expensive sport, but it definitely hits the competitive edge and the adrenaline if you're that type of guy. And so we raced our whole lives. He quit in high school and started doing football, was a great football player. I kept going with motocross because I had too many concussions and they wouldn't let me play football anymore.
From motocross?
From motocross and football. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, you won't let me play football. Let me just keep racing motocross and get more.
Nice.
So we actually went to a Catholic school from kindergarten through 8th grade. So kind of shut off from the public and a bunch of, different people. And then in high school, like I said, he started playing football. I kept racing even after high school. Ended up breaking my back in 3 places in high school, as well as got a DUI. So that's something that not a lot of people know about me, but that didn't help the concussion issues. But that's how I am, in my older age too, and I'm okay with talking about it, but everything I do, I always take it to 100. So if I'm racing motocross, I'm going to take it to 100. If I'm drinking, with buddies, I'm going to take it to 100. And so it's a blessing and a curse for sure. But then, after high school, I was still the same guy. I would just work really hard in no direction. And then on the weekends, party it up. And I thought that was, the good life because that's all my environment would expose me to, right? That's what the normal was. And it was about 25, 26 when I was sitting there. I'm like, man, I'm working 80 hours a week, making good money, but I'm not, saving anything. I'm not creating any impact. I'm just beating up my body, and this isn't fun anymore. So I'm like, we've got to make a change here. And that's when I went from, the construction work, and I took a huge pay cut, a 50% pay cut, to learn something new, which was being an actual superintendent. So I started out as an assistant making $45K a year, which was, that hurt, but I learned a new skill. So I've always been the type of guy, I'll take a loss to learn something new because I know that I can take it back to 100. So, after that is when I actually met, reconnected with a good buddy of mine, mentor, Jacob Emery, who worked at the pipeline company that I worked for 6 years, and he always told me he was going to buy it one day, and he actually bought it.
No shit.
And so he hit me back up before I went and did my own thing. He hit me up, and he was trying to get me to come back and be a foreman for him until he realized there was something different in me, and then he started pushing me to start my own thing. And he took me to the old school gym, which I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you get there at 4 a.m. It's a private gym. Corey G, a bunch of the guys, and you just work out for 2 hours, powerlifting. And I was working out at the time, but I didn't have like a training schedule or anything like set in place. And I got there at 4 a.m. and I realized there was something different about these people. Like this environment felt different, and they were showing up with smiles on their face, just getting after it for 2 hours and then going to work. I'm like, nobody around me does that type of stuff. I'm like, these are winners. And I'm like, I got to figure out how to put myself around winners, because ultimately I'm going to go farther if my environment is winners. And I'm the dumbest person in the room, right? So I asked him, I'm like, how do I want to be a part of this? And he looked me in the eyes like we are right now, and he's like, you don't bring enough value. And I'm like, oh.
Wow.
And at first, like, that hurt, like, because I looked up to him so much. Not hurt, right? It's like, I'm like, shit, well, I mean, I look decent. I can lift weights, not like them, but I don't bring enough value. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he's like, well, you see that board up on the wall? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, well, you're not going to be able to take anybody's name off that board, so that means you can't add value. So that's the standards piece, right? Like, that was their standard. You have to be able to come here and take somebody's name off the board for you to be a part of this, or you're only going to lower the environment. And that was the mindset shift for me back then, where I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense. Like, if somebody comes in here and can't put up the same amount of weights or the same amount of effort, the whole team is going to get worse, right? Just by the environment. And so from there, he was like, start your own brand. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, bro? I'm like, I'm not a business owner. I've never done it. He's like, just try. I'm like, okay. So I started, opened up my laptop that I never used before and just started Googling and taking notes and learning, and it became Legit Gear. And I built a great product. I just didn't know how to do sales or marketing with it. And so that's where all of this, kind of transpired from.
Dude, something you just said I think is so impactful, because if working hard was enough, everyone with a blue-collar job would be rich. And honestly, you just kind of proved something that people hate to admit, and it's that discipline matters more than motivation, and most people aren't built for that shit.
100%.
I feel like you didn't build your company on being likable. You built it on making decisions that pissed people off, maybe sometimes including yourself.
Well, I mean, I think no matter what, you have to say the hard truth, because if I care about your best interest and you're in my company, I can't tell you you're doing a great job when you're not, just to keep you motivated. I have to tell you the hard truth, and it's like, I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you up. And it's because I care about you. And most people don't like to hear the hard truth. They don't, you know what I mean? Like, just give me the rainbows and butterflies and let me, but that's not going to get you anywhere. And that's one of the things that I've always carried with me, is like, no matter what, if I say I have your best interest in mind, I have to call it how it is.
I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you up.
For sure.
That's fire, bro. And honestly, if you're listening to this and this pisses you off or it offends you, then it's probably time that you get a little bit more disciplined. Because if there's one thing that Nate has taught me in the short time that we've known each other, is that motivation comes and goes, and discipline can last forever. So it really is about your daily habitual habits. And he's called me up before.
For sure.
And, dude, I appreciate it, because sometimes, whether that be, I guess, status or, what I've built, and I mean, what you built, people are kind of intimidated sometimes to have those conversations with us. And I'm so appreciative, because Nate has figuratively slapped the shit out of me and been like, bro, you need to do X, Y, Z. And it has helped me so fucking much. And that's honestly the reason I really wanted to connect and have you on the show, because I just feel like there's other people out there that need that. And if you can call them up just with an hour-long podcast, it could potentially have a massive ripple effect that completely changes their life and the lives around them.
Right. And I always think, like, no matter what, if I can just help one person out of anything I do, one person, that's enough for it to be a success for me.
Well, we're about to help a lot of people.
Well, good. That's what I like doing.
So you went from Legit Gear, that was your first entrepreneurial experience, and then you went basically straight into roofing.
So there's a good story around Legit Gear, because that's where everything changed for me. So I was building legit gear, but I had no financial IQ. I had nothing. Like, I was taking the money I was making at my other job and then investing back into this business to build everything on the front end while not selling everything. So then I started to figure out ads. That was the first taste of ads I got, right? And I literally posted my first. Good.
I think so.
So I posted my first ad,
We'll
right?
chop that out.
Got everything ready, posted my first ad, and it just started taking off. I'm like, oh shit, business is easy. Like, why doesn't everybody do this? Like, I just ran up $8,000 in sales, low ticket, like $25, $30 things. I just ran up $8,000 in sales in one day. Like, and people.
No shit.
Yeah, I'm like, people they're just lazy. That's why they're not doing this, right? And about a month later, I'd shipped everything out. I get all these calls from this credit card companies, and they're like, hey, that was fraud. You have to pay this back. And I'm like, what do you mean? I literally just spent $10,000 on product, got it here, and then shipped it out. Like, and I had to pay it. What are you talking about? They're like, no, like, somebody stole these credit cards and then purchased it from you. And I'm like, well, that's not my fault. And they're like, well, it's your business. It's your responsibility to put up, fraud tracking metrics on your funnels. And I'm like, oh shit. So I had to pay all that money, which ultimately resulted in me having to pull out of my apartment lease, move back into my dad's basement, and then restart from everything. And I talked to that mentor, Jake, that I was telling you about. I'm like, man, all this is like, I'm going broke. Like, I'm 27, and this is all happening to me. He's like, okay, good. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen? You go back to your dad's basement. You're already there. Cool. Step one. He's like, you file bankruptcy, start from a new slate, and just do it again. And I'm like, wow. When you put it like that, it's so easy. I didn't have to, file bankruptcy or anything like that. We ended up making it through all right. Thankfully my dad let me sleep in his basement again at 27, but that was the most embarrassing point of my life. And I still kept going because my why was bigger than, any of the problems or the issues. And, even being in my dad's basement, I told him, like, hey, I'm going to start roofing sales. And he's like, you just had a great job. You just, invested everything into this company, lost it all, moved back in my basement. Now you're going to do this other thing that you have no experience, and you're going to knock on doors and sell $1 million in roofs? Are you fucking stupid? Sorry for my language, but that's literally word for word what he said. I'm like, all this going on, right? And I'm like, that's the one guy I look up to. He's the one who instilled the hard work ethic into me. And I'm like, nobody's believing in me right now. You know what I mean? But I'm like, I know inside of me that I can make it happen.
But how did you know that?
I knew it because, like, I've always had that mentality of, like, if I set my mind to something, I'm going to make it happen because I'm just resilient. And I'm never going to give up unless it's, the smart move at the time. But it's not giving up, it's pivoting, just like in this situation. It's like I'm not stopping. Like, I have this big dream, this big goal, and doesn't matter how I get there, but I'm going to get there. And there's going to be people that I want to take with me, but there's only going to be a certain amount of people that go with me. And so, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing you can't do. The only way you fail is if you quit. And a pivot's not a quit. I had this talk with another guy that I helped, and he was just telling me all of his struggles and issues and stuff like that. I'm like, have you thought about trying it a different way? And he was like, well, no, like, this is, I'm like, okay, but it hasn't been working. So, like, now let's start to reframe and see how you can make it work in a different way, right? And it's like, pivoting has to be crucial, right? The market changes, the industry changes. Like, there's so many different variables. You can't set a goal in place 2 years ago and expect that to be the same goal, right? Like, you see your yearly plans never really come out to be exactly how you set them out to be, but they're good for the structure. That way you can stay disciplined to the plan. But then you have to review to see what's working, what's not working, and then pivot around it.
Entrepreneurship is dark sometimes, and it's lonely, and it's fucking hard, and you get kicked in the nuts day after day after day, and you still have to show up with a smile on your face to motivate your people. You could have no money in the bank account. You could have $150,000 in debt, and then you still have to show up because they feed off of your energy. And additionally, you have to clap for yourself. And I think that's one of the most difficult things for entrepreneurs when they're starting out if they don't see success right away. So you're in your dad's basement. Your dad, you're already at a dark spot. Did you file bankruptcy?
I didn't have
to file bankruptcy. Regardless, someone that you look up to and love and that cares about you is now telling you that you're making a stupid decision. Like, mentally, how do you get over that though? Is it just pure resilience? It's just like you're stubborn as fuck?
I think a mixture of all of it, right? Because like even in that time frame, I had the appendicitis and I laid on the floor just trying to get it out of me for like 2 days because I'm like, I'm broke. I can't afford surgery. The hell are you talking about? So like I tried to just hope that it would go away, and it didn't. And I went in and ended up, I had a hernia that I didn't even know about that was from powerlifting. And so they were like, yeah, you're going to surgery no matter what because we have to fix this. Now we have to, take this out. And so I'm like also down in the dumps. But I think I honestly, like to your point, my contrarian belief is that it's not hard. Like business is not hard. It's not dark. It's only the perspective we put behind it. So like if you have that viewpoint, it's going to feel like that. And that's something like I'm always talking to you about just because like we have great blessings. You know what I mean? Like we get to show up and have people want an opportunity from us. They want more from the business that we built. So like it's just that 2 millimeter shift that changes and then your outlook. Now don't get me wrong, there is times where your emotions get to you, right? But you can't let those same emotions carry with you throughout the day or throughout the week. Like I will get frustrated and feel those same feelings, right? But then I have to get them out as soon as possible because we're the ones who built this. So like all the problems that we have are from us. So it's our responsibility to fix them. That way we don't have them. So like if you have a situation where it feels dark and like the money's low, great, that's fixable. And you learn that skill throughout fixing it, right? That's a blessing. Most people don't even get to experience that. Like they don't even get to see the stuff that we go through, and we get to.
I think one of the biggest things I've learned from Nate is perspective, because it really does change everything. And if you can flip the script and eliminate the stories that you've been telling yourself, you can essentially have an ego death and get over whatever is in front of you. Because at the end of the day, one of the most profound things that I've ever learned is that if you can solve a problem, is it actually a problem, right? If you're not dead or in jail, like you could probably figure it out. Something that I struggle with the most, though, is my emotions. And, I try and be stoic. I try and get a hold of my emotions. But when things compound and they're not going your way and you're putting in all the work and you're going hard as fuck, entrepreneurship is essentially like you're sprinting a marathon, but you don't actually know where the end is. There's no end in sight, but you just have to keep running. You don't even know if you're going to finish, and you just have to keep running. And it's that belief in yourself, and these stories, they start to compound, right? Mm-hmm. Your credit card gets declined. You have to move back in with your parents. You break your leg. You have to fire a friend, XYZ. And the faster, and this is for anyone that's listening that's starting a business, the faster you guys can change your perspective and learn from those circumstances, the faster you can not only get out of it mentally, but eliminate that cycle. Because there's actually a study that came out recently, and I think maybe you sent this to me, but the more you complain, you're rewiring your brain. And the less you complain, additionally, you're rewiring your brain. And it kind of goes back to the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Have you read it?
Oh, absolutely.
And to me, that book was, of course, it talks about real estate and whatnot, but it was more about the mindset shift. The rich dad said, how can I? The poor dad said, I can't. When you say I can't, you immediately shut your brain off. When you say how can I, you're thinking of a solution.
For sure.
But that's one of the most profound things that Nate has taught me is perspective, because there are some times where I'm like, fuck, dude, this is happening. He's like, bro, this is solvable.
Right.
It's just a problem that you can solve.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that from you.
Well, I literally just sent this text to one of these guys that I work with earlier, right before we walked in here. And I'm like, if you have a problem, that means you can't control the outcome of it. And this is a little piece, like it's a script off of what Jake, my mentor, says. But like, if you have a problem, that means you can't control it. If you have a puzzle, that means you can solve it. And so it's like looking at puzzles instead of problems, right? And so same thing with, like, I talked to you about issues and issues lists. I don't call them issues. I call them opportunities for improvement, because at the end of the day, language is tied to your emotions. So like, if you're talking about problems and issues and all these different things, well, yeah, you're going to have a negative emotion tied to it. But if you're talking about solving a puzzle, which is just a small little thing in your business on the whole scale of your business, and you can solve that puzzle, well, it doesn't seem that bad. If you can have a list that's like, all right, where can we improve, and what's the most important thing to improve now in this moment, in this season of this business, then you just have a list of opportunities where you can get better.
Bro, that's why I love you.
I appreciate it.
So let's actually dive into, because you have a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like you just got back from Vegas. You were at acquisition.com. I think you personally talked to Alex Hermosi.
Not him directly, but I did, I
team.
met him when I was out there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of things going on, and it's fun. It's literally fun because we get to build and create and help people. Like, both the companies are, to help people. And I'm getting ready to launch a third endeavor.
Are you?
And that's
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, that's the app I've shared a little bit with you
Okay.
on, but for door-to-door sales. That one I'm really excited about. As you know, I'm a tech guy, and not really a tech guy, but everybody calls me a tech guy. But
You're a country tech guy.
A country tech guy. I think this will really help a lot of people, and it's going to, for our roofing companies, this is going to be a big key to it for growth and just tracking numbers. But nonetheless, I stay busy, not on purpose, but because, like, I get to. What else would I be doing?
It's a blessing.
I'm single, don't live anywhere around my family. Like, they're within an hour, right? But it's not like I can just, hop over to my bro's house and kick it with him. So I've just been, trying to put my head down, and everything started, last year in the middle of the year, right? Like, I started the roofing company in May, and I started the executive assistant company in May as well at the same time. So like, we're still in the early stages of, building the foundation and getting those things, operating, right? But yeah, Alex, out at acquisition.com, that was the best. I've been to a lot of seminars. That was the best workshop that I've ever been to, because they talked about, like, the high level stuff that we even got in the weeds, but like overall business. We didn't go there for just sales. We didn't go there for just marketing or, customer support or, whatever it is, right? This was looking at your business as a whole. Where are your value adds? Where are your value detractors? Like, where are your constraints? And it opened my mind to going back to what I said earlier, like, business is easy. There's only two different types of constraints, and you look at your OFI list, opportunities for improvements, and which constraint do I need to solve right now? What's the next constraint I need to solve to get to the next level? And then you just keep going back to your opportunities for improvement list, and that's either one or the two constraints, and then you just start attacking those. I think when we get overwhelmed and stressed, and I do it myself too, right? We're trying to work on the things that aren't actually solving the problems that are the actual problem we need to solve in the moment. And so that's why we feel like we're working harder and nothing's happening, is because we're actually working on the wrong thing instead of the right thing.
So with that much going on, how do you determine what the right thing is?
You have to know what the constraint is, right? So like,
I feel like this is a problem for a lot of entrepreneurs. We generally are delusionally optimistic. A lot of the time we have shiny object syndrome.
For sure.
So, we always want to do like the new next thing, right?
Yeah.
We want to have the entire ecosystem, the vertical integration, the monopoly. We want to have all these businesses. So like you have multiple businesses and you still have friends and you're still a great leader. So like, how do you determine what to work on? Like, what is the high payoff activity? How do you determine what that constraint actually is?
Yeah, and I'll be open with this. Like, if we're talking about the roofing company, what is my constraint? Is it supply or demand? Well, if you gave me 200 leads right now, would I be able to fulfill them? No, because that still revolves around me. So, like, that would tell me the first thing I need to do is find somebody that can take over the whole ops department. That way, I can then go to leads and sales. But you're always going to navigate to what you're best at, right? So, like, you're a great salesperson and a great marketer. And so I can almost bet that oftentimes when there is issues and stuff like that, you try to solve them through the sales or that funnel, even though that may not be the actual funnel that needs worked on. And so that was, to my point, like where we'll work on things that don't really matter, but that's just because it's natural and you know that the best. And then you get the idea of like, oh, this could actually solve, but it might not actually solve all the things, right? Because it's not the actual issue. You just know sales or marketing, and that's your specialty, so you think you can solve it through that avenue.
So it's essentially the lens that you're looking at it through.
Yeah, you got to look at everything and be like, okay, but it's strategic thinking, nonetheless, and it's figuring out, okay, well, if I want to fix this, what is this going to do down the road? Oh wait, it's not actually that issue, it's this issue, and then that would solve this one and this one behind it. You know what I mean? And start to figure out, like, if I work on any change you make in a business, right, it's going to have a cause and effect. It's going to cause something else or affect something else. And so, bam, you go to the sales avenue, let's say, for whatever reason, right? That doesn't solve the issues that are going to come after that. You're now going to put more issues on your list, not even realizing it. And so if you can start to think, like, from how your whole business model works and flows, I work on this and change this, what is it going to do down the road? Oh, wait, I shouldn't just change this. I need to go up here and change this thing, right? And then that's going to solve more problems than just the one that I'm focused on right now. And I know that's a lot, and it probably doesn't make sense because there's a lot of context to it that needs to be added, but you get the general idea of what I'm saying, I'm sure.
So what is your methodology behind figuring out how to reverse engineer that constraint? Okay, let's just actually give an example. Let's dumb this down a little bit. So let's say you do get 200 leads, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, you have 5-10 sales reps, right?
Yeah.
They can't run all of those in one day.
No.
So that constraint would be a people problem. You would need to hire more people.
Maybe.
Or they would need to do inspections faster.
You don't want to give up quality of your inspections, do you?
So, like, how do you figure out exactly how to solve that constraint? How do you know or anticipate the cause and effect? And the reason that I'm trying to elaborate on this is because, guys, this isn't just for home service-based businesses. This could be for any business, and this is one of the biggest hurdles that I had when I was starting my companies. My execution was terrible because I didn't understand that the decisions that I was making on the constraint that I thought I had was going to have a massive negative effect in the future.
Right.
And I didn't have a methodology to figure out what we call them HPA, high payoff activities were. So I was doing a bunch of shit that wasn't moving the needle.
Right.
So I guess I'm trying to get down to the nitty gritty of like, what is your thought process behind solving those problems?
Yeah. So it's either a people problem or a process problem, right? So you give me 200 leads right now. I'm not going to make my sales guys do it quicker because I'm all about quality and customer satisfaction. But I can hire one person to schedule these out better, right? So like bring on a virtual assistant who can then manage a full calendar with those 5 sales reps and then call these customers and put them on a specific time that works best for them within that week, and then have them book out and coordinate the schedule instead of giving up quality, right? Because if you tell your sales reps to do these inspections quicker, the quality of the photo reports and the consultations and the education given to the homeowner is going to fail. And you don't want that because that decreases your referrals. And we know in the roofing company that referrals are, one of the high revenue generators for each roofing company. So you never want to give up quality. You don't want to bring on more sales reps because then they'll run the inspections not trained well, which will also give worse customer satisfaction because they're not going to follow that process thoroughly through. So then I would think about like, okay, well then how can I have somebody manage this calendar, this schedule, this inbound lead flow through automations, through, basically creating a system around that constraint, which is the scheduling, the booking, the communication with the homeowner. That way that's at the ultimate high, and my best sales reps can go out there and deliver at the best quality service for the customer. That way I don't lack in any, quality or customer support, because that's the number one thing that I push in my company is like, I want the homeowner to understand everything that's going on, full transparency, and I want them to have a great experience from the time they enter Nuvant's life, from the time they leave. And now, will that happen to every single one of them? Of course not. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that I have that happen at least, 90% of the time.
This is the reason that I wanted to have you on the show, bro. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, you're one of my best friends, but like just the way that you view these constraints and these issues and you tackle them, I mean, it's inspiring. When did you realize that? At what point did you realize that hustle wasn't the answer anymore?
Yeah.
Obviously, you grind, you hustle,
yeah.
but like, you're not a country boy, dude. Like,
yeah,
you're an analytical business owner.
No, I would say I realized that now you have to have the grind, right? And I look at it like there's seasons in your life. There's the grind season, then you got to stabilize, then you get to bear the fruits, and then you get to give it back, right? So like, I'm still in that grind season right now, obviously, with, starting up 2 companies in 1 year is, my goodness, most people would be like, fuck that, right? Like, this is dark, this is deep, but perspective matters. It was when I was 26 and I was in my apartment on my bed, and I'm just like, man, I'm working 80 hours to pad somebody else's pocket, and I only have enough money to go to the bars and see friends that I don't even like. You know what I mean? Like, we're just going and getting drunk. Like, I'm killing my body. I'm killing my body at work and at the bars. Like, this isn't the life I want to live. Like, there's more out there than this, and I got to figure out what that is and what that looks like. And so I took my grind ethic and put it into something that would produce results for me, which was sales. So I knew the more I worked, the more inputs, the more outcomes. And then throughout learning sales, right? Like, when I was a sales rep, I had a full-time virtual assistant, the one that I still have with me to this day. This was 2.5 years ago, because I had so many leads that I needed somebody to call them, schedule them, book them on the calendar. That way they were trackable metrics, and what you measure, you can improve. And so before I was even a, business owner in a sense, I was already running these. Like, the critical thinking was already there. I'm like, I need to figure out how I can be at the revenue generating activities, which is generating leads, closing deals, and being at the builds, because that's when the customers want to see my face the most. They don't need me there for adjustments. They don't need me there for, the piddly stuff in between, right? But they want to see me when it matters and when they need the trust, which is the deal closing, the build, the stuff like that you can also, if you optimize, get referrals out of. So I figured out how to build a system around my very high lead inbound sales process. And that's what, allowed me to do the numbers I did in sales.
Well, I think you just mentioned something about measuring. And I think one of the things you do best is tracking metrics. And if you could give one metric you watch religiously that you think most owners ignore, what would that be?
That's a really good question. I don't think it can come down to one metric. I think it has to be, like, we're talking to business owners right now. I think it has to be, if you're narrowing it down to one number, I think it has to be one number in each department that moves the needle for each department. Because when you look at business, you have multiple departments, and each one of those has a responsibility to move the needle any project that you create in a company, like let's say you're going to do a new marketing strategy, that has an impact on every single department, and every single department has its own role inside that project, right? You can't just say like, I'm going to start this offer, and then on the customer support side, at the end of it, when you're asking for reviews, you mention nothing about it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to come back at the review ask and say, hey, if you enjoyed this service and you know 3 friends or family members that could benefit from this service, here's our offer to you to give us their lead information. And so it's the same thing. Like, if you're going to narrow it down to one, I say keep it simple, 1 to 3 for each department, but like, you have to track each department, because then back to our conversation earlier, how do you know what the actual problem is if you're not tracking the metrics in each department? You're just working hard, not smart.
Just winging it.
Just winging it.
So metrics aside, what do you think is one system or habit that has had the biggest ROI for you? And I'm not talking about money-wise.
Right.
I'm talking about sanity.
Yeah.
Because with as much as you have going on, I honestly don't know how the fuck you do it. But there's got to be, like, how do you stay sane, bro?
Not even to plug in my other company, but having a virtual assistant. Like, you can't do everything on your own. And the hardest part for most, people is to give up the personal side of things, right? Like, I don't pay my personal bills. I can honestly, this isn't great, but that's one thing that I don't track, is how much I'm spending on a monthly basis, because I haven't seen it in like a year. Now, of course, there's metrics set in place to where if it starts getting crazy and, hey, I just spent $10,000 on golf last month, then I'm going to get notified of it, right? So you have to create this. It all comes down to structure. And we say we design our lives, but most people actually don't, right? Like, most people still stuck in things that are easily delegatable, but they're still giving them issues and frustrations around them. And it's like, if you just got really good at learning one new skill, learn how to create structures for the outcomes you want. That way you can track the inputs and the outcomes.
Design your life.
And that's designing your life.
One of the most profound things that I've learned is that, and honestly, this is going to hurt a lot of people to hear, but like, I always had this mentality, especially when I was a bartender, because I was a bartender at J. Alexander's, nice restaurant. And I always had this mentality that, if I work really hard, if I'm the best bartender here, some rich person, they're going to come in and they're going to save me. I literally thought that. And, they're going to come in, they're going to offer me a job. And, in a roundabout way, I guess that roofer did. That's how I got into roofing. But, then people will think that, oh, when I make $100,000 next year, that's when I'll figure out my taxes. Or, oh, when I make $1 million next year, that's when I'll do X, Y, Z. That's when I'll get my shit together. Or that's when I'll start, once I get rich, that's when I'll start working out. That's when I'll get healthy. And it's the exact opposite. It doesn't work like that. Mm-mm. If you are not designing and basically architecting, I don't even know if that's a word, your life.
No, for sure.
The shit is not happening.
100%.
Like, and that is one of the hardest pills that I've had to swallow, because even in the season of life that I'm in right now, I have been absolutely fucking ruining my body, because physically, honestly, mentally too, because I will, jack myself up on caffeine, and I will use the excuse that I'm biohacking, right? And honestly, I took biohacking way too far. It wasn't even biohacking. I was literally killing myself.
Yeah.
And I would, drink an embarrassing amount of caffeine, and, take Adderall, and then take, all my new tonic and my supplements and this and that. And, by 11 p.m., I'm still jazzed up.
I'm glad we're going here too, by the way.
Because, and what I was thinking is, oh, well, this is just a season of my life. I'm just going to work really fucking hard right now. And then when I make a bunch of money, then I'll get healthy. Then I'll start working out. And it does not work like that.
Does not work like that. I fell into the same trap, right?
The other problem with entrepreneurs and people like me and you is I have an extremely addictive personality.
Right.
So when I start doing something, I go all the way.
Yes.
If I'm drinking coffee, I'm drinking 10,000 milligrams. If I'm taking Adderall, I'm taking all of it. If I'm, whatever I'm doing, I'm not going to delve into that too much.
It's a blessing and a curse.
It's a blessing and a curse. And it's something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with and they don't talk about. Because if you guys are not designing what you actually want your life to look like, what your perfect day looks like, guys, it's not going to happen.
And your perfect business, right? Like, we sat down, 2 months, however long ago, and we were talking about just high-level stuff on books, right? Finances. And I'm like, dude, start at the bottom and work your way backwards. Like, how much do you want at the end of this on a percentage method? And you were like, wait, what do you mean? You remember this?
I do.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, how much do you want down here? And then we can fix everything on, above that and design it around the outcome you want. And that's the same way. As you create your life, it's like, what outcome do you want? And then let's structure it towards that. Same thing with business. What outcome do you want? Let's structure towards that.
But it's so much deeper too. It's like physically and mentally. And it's not just a season. Like, you guys have to design what that looks like. So honestly, if you're listening to this, pause this right now and design what your perfect day looks like. Design how much you want to make, not just this year, not just this month, but like really reverse engineer that shit down to the day. Because again, if you don't actually like design this, it's not going to happen.
Right. 3 years ago when I was a sales rep, I had a structure to my weeks. It was Mondays, focus day, Tuesday, focus day. Wednesday would be a buffer day where I would catch up on all my emails, admin, making sure schedules align. Thursday, focus day. Friday, focus day. Saturday, focus day. Sunday,
and
free
focus day, explain that to me. Like,
focus day is revenue generating activity. So as a roofing sales rep, you'd be doing inspections, adjuster meetings, deal closings, builds. And then buffer days are, all right, what's not revenue generating but needs to be done for this week? That way it doesn't tackle on to next week. So that would be following up with adjusters, following up with homeowners, writing your contracts for your focus days. That way you could go sell deals on Thursdays and Fridays. So like all the paperwork side of things of a business. And keep in mind, like, I was doing this type of stuff when I was just a sales rep, not even a business owner. So like, don't say I'm going to create a structure for my life once I start my business. Create the structure for your life that'll get you to where you can start a business and not have chaos.
Start with the end in mind.
Start with the end in mind, yeah.
Exactly. So you went basically from a sales rep to this leadership role, and you have a couple sales reps that work for you now.
Right.
What do you think the hardest leadership lesson you've learned has been in a painful way?
That's a really good question. I think it's, kind of what we talked about earlier. You have to have the hard conversations no matter what. Like, it can't always be me giving you motivation and inspiration, because I'm always going to see their fullest potential in them. And there can be times where they fall off track and I have to bring them back on track, regardless of, okay, this might piss them off and they might leave. Okay, but what is the best interest for this person? It may be saying, hey, this isn't going to work out for you. Like, if you can't be here and do these things, like, you're never going to see the opportunity or the success that you want. So like, we're just spinning our wheels in no good direction for no reason. Like, make a decision. Either you leave or you go all in. And sometimes those hard conversations are, most people don't have them out of fear of loss, right? Like, I don't want to lose this person because maybe they'll just change their mind down the road. It's like, you've already gave them the opportunity and they chose not to. So they made that choice. That would be number 2. Number 1 would be signal versus noise. Like, listen to the signal and the actions. Don't listen to what they say or what they tell you, because you know it. I mean,
that's powerful.
How many people have you seen, right? Like, come through. They're supposed to be the next Jeremy Lee Minor, They're the best ones on the streets. And then they get there and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the noise. The signal is they come in and they may tell you that, or they may just act nonchalant, and they're putting in hours on the doors from start to finish. That's signal. So that's where you got to set the structure too for people coming in. Like, you have these requirements, this amount of time, either you can accomplish it or you can't. But if you do nothing and you track nothing, I can't help you, because you're going to tell me what you think is your problem, and I can't do an analysis on your numbers to figure out what your actual problem is, so I can't help you. And if I do help you, it may not be what you actually need help with. And if you can't take the small amount of time to track your numbers or put in the work, then why would I spend my time on helping you solve a problem that may not be the problem? Because I've got other problems to solve.
I think that's one of the most difficult things about being a leader too, is because you're basically a coach, and coaches don't always tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you need to improve.
I don't want my coach to tell me what I want to hear. I want them to tell me what they see from a different perspective, a different lens, a different vision.
But that's because you operate differently.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes employees, subcontractors, they don't want to hear that. They almost take that as an attack, and it's like negative.
That's the lesson. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to learn, is like, how can I make it constructive criticism? It'll always be hard, right? Because everybody has different mindsets and perspectives. But like, how can I get people to understand that I'm calling them up, not calling them out? I'm walking with them. I'm not pushing them. You know what I mean? And that's you can't, like anything, you can't be perfect at it, because I can't control how they're going to perceive this. I can only show them, like, hey, I'm doing this for you, not for me, for you. I'm spending the time with you for you, and you can take it one way or another, but at the end of the day, that doesn't change my conviction. I still want the best for you, and if that's here or somewhere else, do that.
So having built businesses, you know how hard it is.
For sure.
So one of the things that I struggle with is when people come to me and I want to keep the enthusiasm and I want to keep the hype, and they're talking about these big numbers, man, right? And, you know, the biggest year we've had, we did 9.2 turned in.
Congrats. That's
Thank you.
I just read a statistic that, like, there's only, I think, 6% of companies that do that.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Got a long way to go, but where I was going with that is, you know, I have people come in my office sometimes and they have these massive fucking goals. And knowing what I know, knowing how much work I've put in, knowing how hard this shit actually is, I want to keep that hype. I want to keep that enthusiasm with them. And one of the things I struggle with the most is, how do I reverse engineer that an individual can't come in and do $10 million in sales in their first year? You know, I recently we have 1B in our office, and it stands for 1 billion. And the goal behind that was, we want to do $1 billion in sales over the course of 15 years.
Love that.
And I had someone text me this morning, love him to death, and he's talking about doing 208 million for the next 5 years, and how we're going to have to change that to 2 billion. And man, I want to keep that enthusiasm. I want to pump it up, and it's just like the amount of energy that would take. I mean, you know how hard it is to hit $1 million in sales.
For sure.
To go from 9.2 to 208 in 12 months.
12 months? Or 12 years?
12 months. 208 million for the next 5 years in a row.
Oh, no, you got to set his expectations straight and then create the hype and the energy by showing him how he can do that.
And it's like, that's one of the things I think I struggle with the most, because I want to keep that hype. I want to keep that enthusiasm, be like, fuck yeah, let's do it. But it's also like, how do I, bring them back in and kind of point out, like, hey, this is what would have to happen to hit those numbers.
Just pull up industry averages.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then build the system around that, and then show them what they'll make out of that.
That's one of the things that I've been working on as a leader. And, when you start a business, those are the type of conversations that they don't tell you you're going to have.
Right.
They don't tell you you're going to have to potentially fire your best friend, or lay people off that have been loyal to the company, or, do a lot of things that you don't want to do.
Yeah, let's talk about that because, you just went through a season of that, right?
Yes, I did.
And that, you took emotion from that for sure.
I did.
Right.
And you supported me through that, and I'm very appreciative.
But that's why tracking numbers and metrics and all the departments of your business are so important because, and also, like, be okay with asking for help. Like, we're technically competitors in the same industry, but you're okay with coming to me and asking me, like, hey, man, this is what's going on. And I'm the same way with you. You know what I mean? It's like, at the end of the day, we're all on the same mission, and there's plenty out here for all of us.
So much.
So, like, why wouldn't you ask somebody for help?
There's so much.
You know what I mean? And that's, like, you came to me and asked me about, like, what would I do in this situation? And I think you had an aha where you were like, okay, I'm actually paying 4 people to do the same thing, right? And it's like that one small little tweak actually helped your company. But tracking, like, the numbers of it, which is what we dove into of, like, how much it was costing, et cetera, made it make sense. And so it has, like, anytime you make decisions like that, it has to be a data or logical driven decision, not an emotional decision, because you're a big-hearted, amazing guy, and your emotions will always, or will sometimes do the opposite of what needs to be done. And same for me. I realized that about myself. Like, I am an emotional person, and that's why I have to have the data and the numbers to support decisions, because same thing for me, I would just say, oh, yeah, this is, like, we can make it work, whatever. Like, we'll figure out how to make it work. When it's like, is that the best decision for your business? Sometimes no. But talk about making those decisions and how it affected you, but then how you got through it.
Well, there are definitely days where I wanted to give up and just jet off to fucking Puerto Rico and, say bye, Ohio. But, it's bigger than me. And that's what I've realized. And, I'm past all the materialistic shit. Yeah, I love cars. I love my McLaren. I have a lot of fun driving it. But it's like it doesn't fire me up the same way that if I had one of my guys come in and tell me that they bought their dream car or tell me that they bought their dream house or got married or whatever, that's the shit that really fires me up.
For sure.
And what I've realized is, and honestly what keeps me going is helping other people reach their goals is honestly the reason why I get up in the morning. But man, it got fucking dark and lonely, and I didn't really talk about it. And honestly, I'm just at the tail end of that. 2025 was the hardest year of my life, like by far. And then I broke my leg.
Right.
On top of that, I for those of you that don't know, I bought Paul out, so there was just one of us left. I'm not going to get into that too much, but it was very, very difficult. And you had just started Nuvant really in 2025, so you hadn't had anything to relate it to. But those of you that have been in the industry for a long time, 2025 was arguably the hardest year for a lot of companies. And man, I honestly can't thank you enough, because I definitely leaned on you and you pulled me out of a dark, dark spot.
For sure. But, like, I mean, elaborate more on this if you're comfortable with it, because I, like, that I help a bunch of other people as well, right? So, like, there's a lot of people that deal with the same decisions and the same thing that you had to go through and don't know how to solve it, or if it's even solvable, or to get through it.
I think the biggest thing, and Bill, what's his name? Bill Ackman, was that investor that shorted GameStop?
I'm not sure.
It's something like that. He shorted GameStop, and then I'm sure you've heard about this. GameStop, like, the stock went way up, right? And he was down like $1 or $2 billion. And it's like, how do you come back from that? And one of the biggest takeaways I got from his story was, you just take it one day at a time. Like, one day at a time. That's it. You just do what you can. And after, 30 days, you look back and you're like, okay, I've come a little bit of the way. If you're looking at the top of the mountain where you were at and now you're down in the valley, then you're never going to be able to climb out. So it really is just brick by brick. Rome wasn't built in a day. And honestly, I still have to remind myself that because I want everything right now, right? I want the success. I want the big team. I want $1 million a month for myself. I want, all the cars in the house. And, I want to live the life that, this lavish lifestyle and whatnot. And it's like, I want to impact all these people, and it just doesn't happen like that. Like, the shit takes time. One of the other biggest things that I found out is I was comparing myself to, 50 to 100 people online out of how many people on planet Earth? 7 or 8 billion. And I feel like that's what a lot of young individuals do is, you guys are comparing yourself. And first off, comparison is the thief of joy. For sure. So stop comparing yourself. But additionally, yeah, you're looking at someone on TikTok or Instagram that, maybe is a 21-year-old that drives a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. But you guys have to remember, there are a percentage of the population, maybe even up to 10%, that doesn't even have access to clean water. So gratitude, I think, is one of the biggest things that actually saved me. And waking up and reminding myself that I have a beautiful and loving wife. I have a fantastic friend group, you included, people that actually truly care about me. And even though I was in like a really, really dark spot, I just had to constantly remind myself that I still have things to live for. I still have a roof over my head. I still have people that I have to impact. And I saw a meme recently, and it was about how the Ark didn't have a steering wheel. I think I told you about this. Noah's Ark didn't have a steering wheel. Well, no. who was guiding the boat?
God.
And it's like we constantly try and drive our life where we want it to go. And, maybe you're not religious. Maybe you don't believe in Jesus, or, maybe you believe in the universe. But what has really helped me is like, I'm just going to let him control it. And I'm just going to do what as best I can.
This is God's plan, not ours. And now, so you asked me what was the one belief that I had that, most business owners, it's all God. Like I wouldn't still be here today if it wasn't for God. I mean, I've had 2 life flights, 5 squad rides, DUI at 17, all these different things happen, right? And it's like that's what gives me the confidence that like I can't accomplish anything, is because I've made it out of some of the worst stuff. And have people been in worse situations than me? 100%, tremendously. But even to you, like you've made it through every of the hardest moments you've ever had. You've made it through it, right? And so is everybody else listening to this. So
say that one more time.
You've made it through all of your hardest challenges. You're still here. You're still going. And same to everybody listening to this. Like there hasn't been one setback that you've had that you haven't made it through, because you're still here and you're still going on whatever path you're on. So that just goes back to the story that you keep in your head that doesn't serve you. Like if you're thinking you're in a miserable spot or you're in a down spot or something, that's just a story in your head. That's not you. Because I remember you talking to me about that, and you're like, man, and I'm like, wait, you've got a beautiful, awesome wife. Like Brittany's awesome. Shout out to Brittany, because she's a gangster.
Dude.
A great company you get to show up to every single day, and there's people wanting to be there. Like there's business owners listening to this right now that have companies that they can't find people to work for them. You have a McLaren sitting in the driveway, an F-150, like you've got a life most people dream about, and at one point you dreamed about it too and didn't know if it was possible.
100%.
So like change the story to that, and then you just start, it's the law of attraction. You just start receiving everything through gratitude, raise your vibration.
And gratitude. I really think that like social media has, I mean, it definitely has affected me, and it's obviously affected a lot of people, but you really can't compare yourself. I know that I just said this, but like it completely rewires your brain.
Right.
And I did wish for this life. My 8-year-old self, I wanted a supercar, and I wanted a nice truck, and I wanted a multi-million-dollar company. And then you hit those things in life and you're not as appreciative. Walking, for
right.
instance, when I broke my leg, like, yeah, and I still do kind of get in this trap a little bit, and I have to snap myself out of it. Like, everything takes so much fucking longer, but like, you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
For sure.
Like, just the simple things, breathing.
Wiping your ass with your right hand.
Wiping your fucking ass, Nate, right? Nate has a broken hand for those of you that aren't watching on YouTube. But
it's not casted, so you probably wouldn't know.
But it's just, you have to be appreciative for the things that you have.
For sure.
You have shoes, you have, your vision, you have your touch, your feel, you probably have a couple bucks in the bank, a roof over your head. And even if you don't, there are still things that you can find that you can be appreciative for. And if you focus on those things, that's when your life will change, not the other way around. I think that everything in life is introverted, and I'll explain this in just a second, but like happiness, for instance, if you're constantly searching for happiness, you're probably not going to find it, right? If you are constantly choosing things that are hard, if you're learning, right? Learning isn't easy. It's hard. Learning a new language, maybe picking up a book, working out. It's not the easy thing to do, right? That's when you become happy, when you choose to do hard things. If you choose to do a bunch of easy things and get cheap dopamine, and you're on TikTok and you're taking a bunch of kratom and you're drinking a bunch of alcohol, your life's going to fucking suck.
Yeah.
Because you're choosing to do the easy things. And that's what I mean, that it's introverted.
Yeah.
And I just thought that, honestly, if there's anything that you guys take away from this recording, that should be it. Is if you guys, you're going to have to choose your hard, right? Being broke as fuck is hard.
Been there.
I've been there too. Working out is hard. But it's like whichever, like what
having a lot of money is hard.
It is.
Especially when you don't know what to do with it.
But it's all about,
so which one do you want?
Choosing your hard, man.
Choose your hard.
100%. Let me ask you something. What was the loneliest phase of building your company? And what do you think you learned about yourself during that phase?
I think the loneliest phase of building my company is like, so break down, building a company in a sense, right? There are probably people on here that hasn't built one from scratch yet. There are so many things to building a company. Way more than I even expected going into 2 at a time, right? Like, there's 1,000 things that you need to do before you even get started, and that's why most people don't get started. Then you start building, and nobody understands what you're doing, why you're doing it, or what you're even creating. And it doesn't seem important at the time, but it's required, so you still have to build it. But, like, who do you even talk to? Like, in those seasons of building those companies, I mean, that was 8 months of just put your head down, nothing else matters. 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. at night, sometimes 4:30 the next morning. I mean, I've definitely done that multiple times this year.
Yeah, I know you've texted me.
Yeah.
I'm like, why the fuck is this dude up? He was just texting me at midnight.
Right. But it's like, that's the type of pressure I love. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's a blessing and a curse as well, because sometimes we'll subconsciously put ourselves back in those situations because that's what we're most familiar with. So that's been a good lesson of mine, is like, no, you don't have to, make an abrupt change or anything to create, that same type of feeling. But coming out of those situations, like, it just builds your confidence level. You know what I mean? When your back's against the wall and you have to do something. Sorry, what was the original question? Actually,
can I touch on that super quick? You said you don't have to make an abrupt change.
Right.
And I think one of the biggest things, I keep saying one of the biggest things.
There's so many good stuff right here.
There's a lot of good stuff here. And I know that we're jumping around here, but guys, you don't have to change everything in one day. It's actually not how it works at all. If you literally just change one thing. Like, everyone thinks consistency is, if you have 7 days a week, and let's say each day is a glass cup. And people think consistency is the glass cup full of water every single day. And that's completely fucking wrong. Consistency could be one single drop in that cup. It could be you telling yourself that you're going to show up to the gym every single day. And even if you just go to the gym and work out for 10 minutes, that is still consistency. Because every time you tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it, guess what? You lose confidence.
For sure.
It doesn't have to be an abrupt change. It can be incremental things that will build that confidence. And that's how you actually become successful.
100%. Like I mean, I'm to the point now where I can't leave my house without making my bed, but I also can't take a shower in the morning without turning it on cold for 3 minutes and just blasting myself. And then I'm always trying to figure out how much longer I can just sit in there, and until it became a point of like, all right, well, I'm just wasting time, sitting in cold water, right? So it's like now I don't need to try to push the limit higher. I just need to make sure I still do it every single day. That way I'm still stacking your wins right off the rip in the morning.
Stacking wins, bro.
But you were talking about the loneliest point in time of building those companies. I think it is all the different, not problems, but, areas that they can improve. I think it was my expectation, right? Like, because I've ran, higher level companies. I've helped people with way bigger businesses. My expectation was I know what this can be, and I wanted to build that in 8 months. I wanted to have that $10 million company by 2026.
I remember you telling me that.
And I had to shift my expectations in myself of what I was building, which ultimately reduced my stress, reduced how much pressure I put on myself, and made life more enjoyable. Because realistically, like, that could have happened, yes. Was it the smartest thing to do? No. The original goal, I had none. I didn't expect all this to happen at all. You know what I mean? Like, this happened within the blink of an eye, and that was because my back was against the wall, and it was like, all right, now you got to do this. And I just did what I knew best, and that was helping people. So I think the loneliest point throughout that was changing doing the deep work to figure out what was the issue with what my expectations were, and then changing that to, like, all right, what can work now, and then build a plan for next year.
If you could go back and tell your 21-year-old self something that would be extremely impactful and potentially save them, 2 to 3 years of trial and error, what would that be?
If I'm the smartest in the room, I'm in the wrong room. Because I've always tried to put myself around people at a higher, like you, right? You've been in this industry for 13 years, and you've got a $10 million a year company. Like, I wanted to be around you instantly. One, because you brought great vibes when I met you. Like, I could tell you were authentic and truthful and, like, just yourself, which is hard to find in a lot of people.
Appreciate you saying that.
But you have, like, you're a visionary as well, which aligns with me, right? You have big dreams and big goals, and you want to create impact. So I think everybody wants to be in the room where they're the smartest in, because that's comfortable. I want to be in the rooms where I'm the dumbest, because I can learn and I can figure out what these people are doing, or take one piece of, education from it and then implement it into my own life or to my own business, or give that back to somebody else. And so I've always either paid to get in those rooms, which a lot of people are scared to do because they think they're losing money, but they don't understand they're investing in themselves to grow themselves. I've always paid, or, got around the people that would connect me with those people. And at 21, I thought I had to have it figured out, like you were saying, to start. Now I realize, like, you don't have to figure out anything. You just have to know why you're doing it, and that it brings you passion and energy, and just start.
Bro, you should say that again, because, guys, no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
Right. Like, at the top, they don't.
Nobody. I mean, shit, I'm still figuring stuff out every single day.
We're learning every day, but that's why we're the owners, because business let's take roofing for an example, and I know everybody on here is not roofers, but business will never be the same, right? Like, the industry was down 50% last year.
Or more.
You have to constantly learn and improve and grow for your business to stay growing and successful.
What did Ed Milet say at the Aspire event? He said, you're either humble or you're about to be.
Yeah, for sure.
And, dude, that is so fucking true. And what's so funny about entrepreneurship and just life in general is, like, when I actually started my entrepreneurial journey, when I got serious, it really was in, like, 2020. And I thought I had it all figured out, bro. I thought I knew everything about roofing. I'd been on the carrier side. I'd already been a sales rep. I'd already kind of helped start 2 companies. And, dude, it's so funny. The further I get down this road, the less I feel like I know.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, I'll put it into perspective with my experience this year. I've never done a damn material order before I started my own company. So I sold these 2 jobs right off the rip, and I'm like, oh, shit. How am I going to figure out what materials to order for this job? Never done it before. I just used my resources. I think I reached out to you and another guy. I'm like, what all do I need? Like, build me a takeoff list, right? And I've built whole ass homes before. Not physically, but ran but that structure was already there in place. So I had to figure out how to build a structure to support somebody coming in. That way I could train them, delegate it to them before. That way they could succeed in it. But you always have to be able to learn. And learning is the number one skill that will drive you higher. I don't think working harder will. I think getting around the right people that you can learn from, or seeking the knowledge you need to be able to pivot, adapt, grow, scale, whatever you want to do, whatever, fix your constraint even. You know what I mean? You have to learn these skills and then keep improving them.
Honestly, when I'm not learning, I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah.
Like, I have to be doing something.
Yeah.
Honestly, even right now, like, I cannot wait for this brace to come off because I'm going to do 75 hard.
Yeah.
And I just said it publicly, so now I have to do it.
Now you have to do it.
But, like, if I'm not reading or learning or doing something or exercising or, like, I feel like I'm dying.
Yeah, because it's not fun. And that's been a struggle of mine, is, like, the resting side. Like, the slowing down, and because I love the fast pace, like, but that can also be a crux because, like, you've got your whole model set out, right? Like, at this point, you shouldn't have to change anything. You're only improving. And the only time you would change something is if you need to adapt because of some big constraint or something like that, right? So, like, the next level of me is also realizing, like, all right, the building stage is out. Like, now it's improving. And you're improving process or people.
So you have all this going on. You obviously are a very busy guy. What does winning actually look like nowadays to you?
Winning looks like the 5 people that are my sales reps hitting over $1 million this year. That'll be life-changing money for them that they've never seen before. Winning looks like my VA that's been with me for 2.5 years. She retired her husband and built her own house this year, and that's winning to me. Winning looks like retiring my family, my parents who had to deal with my ass for 25 years, which God bless them. I don't even know how they did it. They deserve that. So winning's putting them in retirement. That way they can live life and enjoy it. And this year is the first year that I've got a family vacation scheduled for all of us in this really nice place on the beach in May, and my whole family's going. That's exciting. I'm excited for that. But winning is, and I know it's cliche and like a lot of people say it, but I actually mean it. Winning is seeing my people win. And my biggest frustration last year was knowing that people could win, but they wouldn't put in the inputs to see the outputs, the results. And this year is going to happen, and I'm excited to see it happen.
I think that that's so cool, and honestly, that's one of my favorite things about you, bro, is because you're just constantly pouring into other people, and it's not about you winning. It's about everyone around you winning.
For sure. I mean, I've bought the nice things like the Rolexes, the BMW, which don't get me wrong, I'm an adrenaline junkie, so I still love the BMW because I can hop in it and go really fast and get my heart pumping. And, if I want to, just drift a little bit, have a little bit of fun in it. So love that thing to death. But I thought buying those things, I would feel some type of like, wow, I'm impressive. And I bought those things and didn't feel any of that. And that's what made me realize, like, it's not about the material stuff, or like those things will just come naturally, right? It's about seeing other people be able to do that and seeing what they can. I want to change people's lives for the better, because I've changed my life for the better, and it came from one person believing in me. And I didn't have the confidence in myself at the time, but he pushed me to that point. And I want to do that for other people. And I told him when he did it, I'm like, dude, why are you even helping me? I'm like, I ain't nothing. Like, you don't even really, it's been 6 years since we talked when I used to work for you. Like, so why are you helping me? And he's like, because I see it in you, and somebody did this for me, and I want to give it back. And now he's got his own coaching business, and he's doing really well in it. I'm a part of it. But it's like, damn. I look back at my life, I'm like, that's always been what's brought me happiness, is like, I learn something, even in motocross, learn something, and then try to teach it to my brother, or try to teach it to this person or this. I'm like, that's what I want to do. And like, even business as a whole, like, I love learning business, but when I learn something, then I try to go to people and like, just, hey, this is something I learned, you can use it or you can't, like, no harm, no foul. If you want to, cool, here it is. But it's not like, hey, pay me to have me tell you this. I just want to do it because, like, if it helps you, then that makes me happy, because I know where you were at and the feelings you were at. You know what I mean? Like, if it helps you, awesome. That's all I need.
And dude, there's just such an abundance, and I wish more people thought that way, because truly people at the bottom compete and people at the top collaborate.
I wrote a book, and I haven't told anybody about this. I might have mentioned it to you.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I wrote a book. Actually, when I was down, I had the bad flu for 2 weeks. Jared didn't believe me that I had the flu. I couldn't get out of bed.
I did. I tried to send you soup, motherfucker.
No, I know. He was actually awesome. He was like, I'll bring you whatever you need. And he hit me up like twice. But in that time, like, it was a bunch of just deep reflection. And I wrote a book about my whole life story, and it's called Built for More. I haven't released it or anything yet, but in that I talk about more is infinite, just like abundance. And to have, like, if you want more out of your life, you have to adapt that mindset, because you can't get hung up on the losses. With more, there comes losses, right? Every time I've leveled up my income, I've went down in income before that, learned the skill, and then went to more.
Bro, I need this book. You need to tell me when this is coming out.
It's good.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed this, because Nate is going to be a guest regularly. At least I hope so.
I would love to.
And honestly, if this episode made you uncomfortable, good. Because that's not motivation you're feeling, that's awareness. And most people will scroll, they'll forget this, they'll wake up tomorrow and they'll do the exact same shit. But a few of you guys won't. And you'll hear one thing out of this episode that follows you around, and maybe that's at the gym, and maybe that's in the truck, maybe that's laying awake at night, and that one sentence will either annoy the shit out of you, or it will force you to change. And that choice is yours. And guys, Nate didn't wait for clarity. He moved with pressure. And honestly, that's what SACKUP is all about. So, dude, I really, honestly, truly appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate your friendship more than you will ever know. I want to end on a positive note. If you could give us a couple key takeaways, I'll list a few that I got from this. One of the biggest ones is perception. Your perception truly does dictate your reality. And if you can just change the way that you're looking at something, change the lens at which you're viewing that through, you truly can change the outcome and rewrite your entire circumstance.
For sure.
But if you could give a couple of the biggest takeaways you had from our conversation here, what would they be?
Yeah, I think it would just be like, it's one of my favorite quotes, right? And kind of to your story, this too shall pass. So the good will pass, the bad will pass. And that's why preparation is so important, because like, you have to be prepared for the worst, expect the best, and know that both can come at any given time.
Damn, bro, just drop that mic, why don't you?
No, and to all the people listening, like, if you did take something valuable from this, please share it with us. Like, message us on DM, Facebook, whatever it is, wherever you're hearing this from. Like, I want to know if
Please.
something was said that, stood out to you. Tell us. We'd love to hear it.
Well, and selfishly, that's the shit that fires me up.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
the reason. Guys,
That's why we're doing this.
we don't make money on this.
Right.
I actually pay money to have this produced. So when you guys do reach out and you tell me things like that, that really does fire me up.
Yeah, we want to talk to you guys and work with you and, like, give help. Like I'm saying, like, my why is to help. I want to do that for other people. So, like, if there's something you're dealing with, reach out to me. I'm an open book. Jared knows that.
And, until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, nothing will change.
For sure.
What did you say to me? Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right. And if you think you can, you're right. And if you think you can't, you're right.
You're 100% right. Bro, where can people find you on social media?
Nate Saxton. Just simple. At Nate Saxton. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Not the greatest at my content right now, but that's going to change this year.
Let's go. And guys, I do want to actually plug something super quick. There is absolutely no fucking way I would be able to do the things that I'm able to do without Nate's VA company. So reach out to him. It's Prime VAs on Instagram, I believe.
Prime Executive Operators.
Prime Executive Operators. Tell him that Jared sent you. He'll give you a discount. And honestly,
comment Jared.
It has completely changed the way that I operate. I mean, no cap. Like, I would not be able to do half of the things I'm able to do without having a virtual assistant. So it's been extremely helpful. But bro, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you coming on. This is one of many. I actually was already thinking about the next episode and how I'm not even going to touch on it too much, but I have some really cool things that I want to talk to you about, just about like business owners specifically and like the metrics they need to be tracking, because
For sure.
a lot of people focus on that top line revenue number, and that doesn't mean jack shit if you're not actually making money.
That don't mean shit.
So, if you're doing $100 million a year and you're not bringing any money home, you're not bringing any money home. So, anyway, I appreciate you guys listening and tuning in, and until next time.
Appreciate you, Jared.
Sack up.